So this is the fourth and final part of our guitar tutorial on Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag, and the fourth part goes like this. So the chords we use for this are a D, and we do that one just by taking our index finger and fretting across the top 4 strings along the 7th fret. An A on the 5th fret, but rather than the bar chord, I leave the bottom string open and use this index finger just to hold down the top 2 strings. An E chord on the nut, an A chord on the nut, and a D chord on the nut. And when you get to that D chord part, you actually don't play the top 2 strings, so you might find it easier from a fingering perspective just to play it just using your index finger, and use the index finger to hold down the G string on the 2nd fret. Okay? So the way this goes, let's start with that D shape. So you take your index finger, bar it across the 7th fret, top 4 strings, then you use your ring finger to kind of hammer on and pull off the B string on the 10th fret, and then use your middle finger to hammer on and pull off the E string on the 9th fret. So it goes. Okay, so on, off, on, off, on, off, like this. Okay, and then we move to an A shape, but not as a bar chord, just because I really only play pretty much the top 4 strings on this A shape, so I just basically form my index finger over those top 2 strings, middle finger on the G string, ring finger on the D string. I'm using my little finger free, and that little finger plays the B string on the 7th fret and pulls on and off. Okay, so on the 7th, little finger on the 7th fret of the B string. Down to an E shape. So on that E shape, use your little finger again to go on the 2nd fret of the top E, and also on the 2nd fret of the B string. So it goes. Into a nut A. So again. And when that nut A plays, you then go. And I do that just by turning my fingers so they're then covering all 4 of the top strings. Normally in a nut A chord you leave the top E string open, but I pull down like that, pull my fingers down so that top E is then fretted at the 2nd fret. And then we go back and do essentially the same thing again, so a D chord up on the 7th, again with our index, ring, and middle fingers hammering on the B and the E strings and the 10th and 9th fret. An A chord in the 5th position, again not as a bar, but just like that. Then we move down to a D chord, and as I said earlier, you don't play the top 2 strings, so you might just find it easier just to take your index finger, put it on the G string on the 2nd fret and use your ring finger to hammer on that that G string on the 4th fret, and it goes. Oops. Again. Then into an E chord. Sorry, an A chord. And with this, you just lift your little finger up off that B string from the 2nd fret position, so it no longer becomes an A, and that B string becomes open. So it goes in that D position. Then into an E chord. Then back to A. And that's the whole song. So that end part again. And then you're ready to start the whole thing over. Someone's at the door. What a rude interruption. Oh well, never mind. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I better go and answer the doorbell. Cheerio.